Hi, folks. Brian Trippett here, the Front Porch Conservative. Still trying to get over this nasty head cold that I've got, but I'm strong enough that I want to get into a discussion about a story that broke late Monday afternoon and still has reverberations going into today. That is the Jeffrey Goldberg article in the Atlantic magazine and the fallout that the Trump administration is now having to deal with. So hang on, folks. We're going to get into all this in just 1 second.
My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. Step on up to my electronic front porch and let's talk.
By late Tuesday evening, reverberations were still being felt around Washington, D.C. as it related to Jeffrey Goldberg's article in the Atlantic magazine that dropped Monday afternoon. So there's a lot of different angles to come at where this story is concerned. So I want to dive right into the article itself, talk about some of the things that I think are problematic, and then try and figure out where it's going from here and what the net fallout is. So we'll start with the headline itself. The Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. The U.S. national security leaders included me in a group chat about upcoming military strikes in Yemen. I didn't think it could be real. Then the bombs started falling by Jeffrey Goldberg. Now, you might be asking yourself, who exactly is Jeffrey Goldberg and what is he to the Washington establishment? Well, Jeffrey's been around long enough he's got mold on him. Well, it feels like it anyway. He goes back to the days of the New Yorker magazine, and let's just say he hasn't covered himself in glory ever since the early 2000s to present. As a matter of fact, if you'd like an example of just how accurate Jeffrey can be, here's an interview that he did at the time when writing for the New Yorker, talking about the combination of Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden. Do me a favor, folks, and check this out.
Run by a group of Kurds and Arabs who have cycled through Osama's training camps. It's been assumed that this group is al-Qaeda influenced, even al-Qaeda directed. What I found, and I can go into it a little bit if you want, how I found this out, is that there are serious allegations that the group is actually co-sponsored, if you will, by al-Qaeda and by Saddam's intelligence agency. I found a number of other heard a number of other credible allegations that Saddam and al-Qaeda have actually been working together on any number of projects. And if these allegations are true, obviously, the implications are quite serious.
Well, my goodness. Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden working together? Yeah, that one didn't turn out to be very true. But this is Jeffrey. This is what he does. Now, he hasn't exactly covered himself in glory as the years have gone by. As a matter of fact, let us keep in mind, this is the same Jeffrey Goldberg who gave us Trump. Americans who died in wars are losers and suckers, which turned out to be a total fraud, much like Saddam and al-Qaeda. But I digress. You get the point. When this guy writes something, you ought to give it a little bit of time before you really say to yourself, wow, that's a truthful, powerful argument. Well, it might be powerful, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's truthful. So that brings us to where we are right now. I want to take a look at some of the statements from inside the article itself and then get into a discussion of the fallout. So we start with some clips that I've put together. And here's the first one, which to me starts all the problems where this is concerned. On Tuesday, March 11th, I received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. Signal is an open source encrypted messaging service popular with journalists and others who seek more privacy than other text messaging services are capable of delivering. I assumed that the Michael Waltz in question was President Donald Trump's national security advisor. I did not assume, however, that the request was from the actual Michael Waltz. I have met him in the past, and although I didn't find it particularly strange that he might be reaching out to me, I did think it was somewhat unusual given the Trump administration's contentious relationship with journalists and Trump's periodic fixation on me specifically. Now, you'll notice that I highlighted the words, I have met him in the past, And although I didn't find it particularly strange he might be reaching out to me, I highlight that because Michael Waltz, the National Security Director, is absolutely denying that he's ever met Jeffrey Goldberg. As a matter of fact, let me play you a clip right now and show you exactly what I'm talking about. According to Mike Waltz, he has never met this guy, has no idea who he is, and has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with this gentleman, Jeffrey Goldberg. So give me 1 second, folks. We'll get this pulled up and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Mr. President, you asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of the lessons. There's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what.
Well, now maybe Mike Waltz is just trying to cover his backside. That's altogether possible because right now he's feeling a whole lot of heat for what's happened over this. But Jeffrey Goldberg is claiming, oh yes, I've met Mike Waltz. I've known him on several occasions. Waltz is claiming he's never met this guy in his life, and as a matter of fact, repeated the same claim tonight on Laura Ingram's show on Fox News. So there's problem number one. Who's telling the truth? Well, given Jeffrey's track record, I'm inclined to at least give Waltz benefit of the doubt on this one. But anyway, let us move along to item number 2 from the Atlantic article. And it goes like this. I had very strong doubts that this text group was real because I could not believe that the national security leadership of the United States would communicate on Signal about imminent war plans. I also could not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless as to include the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic in such discussions with senior U.S. officials up to and including the vice president. Now, again, you'll notice I highlight the words, I could not believe that the national security advisor to the president would be so reckless as to include the editor-in-chief. I have a question, and I think it's a fairly reasonable one. How do we know that Mike Waltz was the one that actually gave the invitation on Signal to Mr. Goldberg? We don't. As a matter of fact, according to Donald Trump, it was one of Mike Waltz's staffers who included Jeffrey Goldberg in this chat thread. Now, before you say anything, don't get me wrong. Jeffrey Goldberg never should have been included. And I'd like to know exactly who did it and why. Because Mike Waltz might be a little bit of a neocon. Okay, he's a whole lot of a neocon, but he's working for a president who's definitely not one. Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic is most certainly a neocon. So Mike Waltz, at a minimum, should have had the good sense to know, I don't want Jeffrey Goldberg anywhere near what we're working on. Yet somehow Jeffrey Goldberg finds his way into this group chat on Signal. So that begs the question, why? Well, Miranda Devine of the New York Post has a theory, and it goes like this. There were 150 holdovers from the Biden administration at the National Security Council when Waltz took over, career staff, detailees from agencies like the CIA, NSA, State Department, and the Pentagon. He purged several dozen. Goldberg's boss, Kamala Buddy, and billionaire by widowhood, Laurene Jobs, is also a leftist activist fervent about immigration matters. Now, I say all that to say this. It is possible that Mike Waltz may have given the invitation, or I should say the invitation comes from Mike Waltz, and it's altogether possible that one of his staff is the one that actually gave it to Jeffrey Goldberg. But time will tell. That's being investigated. Anyway, going a little bit further into that article by Mr. Goldberg, we have the following. Clip number 3 that I thought was fairly salient. It was the next morning, Saturday, March 15th, when the story became truly bizarre. At 11:44 a.m., the account labeled Pete Hegseth posted in Signal a team update. I will not quote from this update or from certain other subsequent texts. The information contained in them, if they had been read by an adversary of the United States, could conceivably have been used to harm American military and intelligence personnel, particularly in the broader Middle East, Central Command's area of responsibility. What I will say, in order to illustrate the shocking recklessness of this signal conversation, is that the Hegseth posts contain operational details of forthcoming strikes on Yemen, including information about targets, weapons the U.S. will be deploying, and attack sequencing. According to the lengthy Hegseth text, the first detonations in Yemen would be felt 2 hours hence, at 1:45 p.m. Eastern. So I waited in my car in a supermarket parking lot. If the signal chat was real, I reasoned Houthi targets would soon be bombed. At 1:55 p.m., I checked X and searched Yemen. Explosions were then being heard across Sana'a, the capital city. Now, here's the bone of contention that I've got with that particular point. First of all, let's assume for a moment that Pete Hegseth, as the Secretary of Defense, did what Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic is claiming, that he posted details about the military operation in this group chat. Okay, that's a fairly bold claim. It would seem to me journalistic ethics would sort of demand of Goldberg, okay, if you're going to make that kind of claim, you better be able to back it up. There's just one little problem. Goldberg is totally unwilling to back it up. And if you really want the proof of that, check this out. Goldberg was being interviewed by a young man named Tim Miller today, and Miller asked him about this very thing. And folks, the response you get on this is rather astounding. Do me a favor, check this out.
Now, the Secretary of Defense and the White House press secretary have said you're lying, have said there are no war plans there, have said there's no classified information. So the obvious question is, shouldn't you now demonstrate it? Shouldn't you publish the text?
No, because they're wrong. They're wrong.
But how can you prove that you're wrong? Maybe should you provide them to the House and Senate Special Committees on Intelligence? Maybe. I don't know.
Wow. Well, you want to become my lawyer?
I'm throwing this out there, Jeff. I don't know. I mean, look.
I feel like no. I mean, I obviously. Let me just put it this way: my colleagues and I, and the advice that and the people who are giving us advice on this, have some interesting conversations to have about this.
Yeah.
But just because they're irresponsible with material doesn't mean that I'm going to be irresponsible.
Okay, hold on a minute. This is no longer a question about responsibility versus irresponsibility, sir. You made a very sensational claim about the Secretary of Defense. It's bad enough that you're accusing the National Security Advisor of accidentally or purposefully putting you into a group text, which, don't get me wrong, if Waltz is actually guilty of it, fine. Nail his hide to the wall and give him all the punishment and ridicule he deserves. But until someone can actually prove that Waltz deliberately did this, he ought to be given, like everybody else, benefit of the doubt. But going back to the question about Hegseth, you're accusing him of leaking operational details about a strike in Yemen. Okay, fine. It seems to me you have the responsibility to prove that's actually what he did. And the proof is very simple. If you have actual evidence that Pete Hegseth did this, and the evidence you release would not jeopardize future operations in the Middle East, particularly the question of, something that's upcoming. In other words, you could show past details of what actually happened, then it seems to me you got the obligation to back up your claim, but you won't do it. Hence, I've got a very strong suspicion you are, let's just put it this way. That horse does not have all four of his good shoes on him. I think this horse is about one shoe short, so to speak. You won't give any proof that that's actually what you got. You're saying it would be irresponsible. Well, put up or shut up, Jeff. One of the two. But anyway, one last part, and this may be my biggest problem with the Goldberg article. And again, this is from Jeff Goldberg's article, and we read the following. Earlier today, and this was on Monday, I emailed Waltz and sent him a message on his Signal account. I also wrote Pete Hegseth, John Ratcliffe, Tulsi Gabbard, and other officials. In an email, I outlined some of my questions. Is the Houthi PC small group a genuine signal thread? Did they know that I was included in this group? Was I, on the off chance, included on purpose? If not, who did they think I was? Did anyone realize who I was when I was added or when I removed myself from the group? Do senior Trump administration officials use Signal regularly for sensitive discussions? Do the officials believe the use of such a channel could endanger American personnel? Now, there's a reason why I bring up this particular part of Goldberg's article. All of these events happened at the latest by March 15th, 10 days ago. The article was released yesterday, March 24th. So that's a period of 9 days from the strikes in Yemen to the day Jeff Goldberg released the article, which begs a very important question. Hey, Mr. Goldberg, why did you sit on this for 9 days? Well, I think the answer is kind of obvious. The article went out on Monday, the 24th. The Senate Select Committee on Intelligence was scheduled to meet on Tuesday, March 25th. And guess what? The Democrats wasted absolutely no time going after Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who showed up to give an intelligence briefing. As a matter of fact, we've got an exchange. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen, and check this out.
Contact the defense secretary or others after this specific military planning was put out and say, hey, we should be doing this in a skiff?
There was no classified material that was shared in that.
So then if there was no classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways. These are important jobs. This is our national security. Bobbing and weaving and trying to, filibuster your answer. So please answer the question.
I think you're beginning to see what's happened here, folks. Now, let me say, I am no conspiracy theorist, not by a long shot, but it's kind of obvious what's going on here. To me, Goldberg waited to drop that article the afternoon before the Intelligence Committee would meet the next day, thereby giving the Democrats time and opportunity to go after Trump's people. And go after them they did. That's just one little clip. Michael Bennet of Colorado absolutely covered himself in Democrat glory, along with many, many others. Now, do I know that there was direct collaboration between Jeffrey Goldberg of the Atlantic and the Democrats on the Senate Intelligence Committee? No, but it's quite obvious what's happening here. The fallout from Goldberg's article is very simple. The Democrats are desperate to try to get some kind of a victory. They'll do anything at this point to try and get footing, and they think they found something that they can use. As a matter of fact, word is starting to filter around that weak-kneed Republicans may be holding hearings in the Senate Armed Services Committee. Thank you, Roger Wicker of Mississippi, who's the chairman. So you begin to see what's happening here. The Democrats think they've got a toehold on a chance to get back into relevancy, and they're going to use this issue to try and get there. Time will tell if it really matters. Now, like I said, how and why Jeffrey Goldberg, a journalist, got added onto a group chat of the national security team of President Donald Trump is a question that should legitimately be answered. And if Mike Waltz is the one himself who put Jeffrey Goldberg into this, but is trying to weasel his way out of it, nail him to the wall and give him everything he deserves. But until someone can absolutely prove that and prove the other fantastic allegations that Goldberg is making, I don't know that I'd be giving this a whole lot of credibility. But the Democrats don't necessarily need credibility. They need something they can hang their hats on, so to speak. We'll see how all this plays out. But for right now, it is the soup du jour in the swamp. But that's what I've got to say about it. What do you think? As we start to wrap up this video, please do me some favors as always. Number one, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Number two, please leave a comment below and hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Believe it or not, it really does help with the outreach. Number three, please make sure you share the link around with your friends. And finally, please subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate all your help. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative, and I'll see you Next time